This is a SEAT Leon Cupra. Now, if you're thinking about buying one of these, stop right there. Watch this video because I'm going to take you over all the common problems and help you get a good car. Let's go. So when it came to body styles, there was quite a bit of choice with these. You could get them in 3-door, you could get them in 5-door, just depending on engine. And then in 2015, this estate style car came along as well. Now, no matter what one you're considering, we've made this guide relevant, so stay tuned. First up, one of the biggest issues to plague an otherwise really quite reliable engine. It was the early cars' turbos. Now, they were manufactured by a company called IHI Turbo. And what happened was the turbo itself was actually okay. It was the mating face where it went onto the manifold. It was an imperfect seal, and over time and miles passing by, it would cause damage to the turbo to the point where it would need to be replaced. So what can you do? Well, the easiest way around this issue is to buy one of these cars 2015 on. If you're earlier than that, then you might get that problem. Now, if budgetary requirements mean you're buying an early car, then just be super vigilant on turbo type symptoms. And that is things like blowing blue smoke, either on boost or startup, or just general low power. Next up, let's talk engines and get sitting comfortably for this one because it's not that easy to understand. So on launch, we had the 260 brake horsepower unit and we had the 280 brake horsepower unit. Now, in late 2015, early 2016, they changed that 280 brake horsepower unit to 290 brake horsepower. The smaller output engine was dropped altogether due to poor sales performance. Now, fast forward another year and that 290 brake horsepower engine became 300 brake horsepower. Fast forward another year again and it drops back down to 290 brake horsepower due to WLTP regulations. Now, whilst all that's going on, the ultimate version of the Leon Cupra was the Cupra R, which ran 310 brake horsepower, but there was only 799 of them made. And breathe. So here's a weird one for you. Now, this tends to be more prevalent on diesels, but it has found its way into some petrol engines as well. And it's to do with the header tank here. What they do is they put a little silica gel pouch in there, and the whole idea is that's to try and extend the life of the coolant, cut down on system corrosion. A great idea in theory, but a problem when that little pouch bursts and sends that gel throughout the coolant system. Now, the best way to spot that is through the heater inside the car. Generally, if it's blocked the heater matrix, you're not going to get any hot air. Be aware, however, that's not the only problem that would cause that. It could just be a sticky valve inside that heater matrix, but nevertheless, worth being aware of. Alright, so this next thing you definitely don't want to be missing. But before we get to that, a favour to ask from you guys. We're waging war against those dodgy sellers that try and cover up faults when selling you cars. If you want to support us with this, best thing you can do is hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification and give this video a like. Anyway, back to it, let's talk water pumps. Now, it's a common thing that can go wrong on these. So the big thing you want to be doing here, and this is prudent to do on any used car purchase, is have a look for leaks, both coolant and oil. Now, another note on the water pump is this is why it's important to use good garages when it comes to repairs, because if that repair is carried out badly, there have been cases where that sealant has been found sort of circulating around the coolant system as well. So make sure if the water pump has been done, it's been a good, reputable garage who's carried that work out. So next up, general bodywork. Thankfully, you don't have much in the way of corrosion to worry about on these cars. However, one thing that many owners do report is the lacquer on top of the paint can be quite soft. So you're going to want to check the edges of these doors, make sure there's no nasty gouges out of them, and just in general, make sure there's no deep scratches or imperfections in there. And again, particularly, take a good look at that front end for stone chips. So next up, consumables, and I'm talking here tyres, brakes. Now again guys, this is prudent to check on any used car, so we'll make this brief, but again, check the discs. Make sure there's not a big lip on the outer edge. Make sure there's plenty of meat on those pads. And when it comes to tyres, remember to check the inside as well. We want to keep the money in your pocket, not for you to buy a car and then have to do additional outlay on it. As we hop into this interior, let's talk about the options that you might want on the one that you're looking at. So heated seats were available if you paid the $355 premium for the winter pack. But that was money well spent because it also came with the headlight washers, heated screen wash nozzles, that sort of thing. Now you could also get an upgraded sound system, came with 6-channel amp, 10 speakers, subwoofer, really did sound quite good. And a lot of users said that was £250 well spent as well. Now the £295 driver assist pack also provided you with auto-dip headlights, lane assist, that sort of thing also. Adaptive cruise was £500, so you may want to include some of those options when you're looking at a second-hand one of these. So gearbox wise, you could get this. You could get the 6-speed manual, or obviously you could also get that DSG gearbox as well. Both really good, no massive problems to talk about. One or two little things that we'll get to on the test drive, but nothing to worry about too much. Now the last thing I want to mention before we get moving here is if you can, give that rear wiper a test. I know it seems unusual, really specific problem, but a lot of owners report that the servo for it can be really juddery. And again, not the end of the world, but something you can bring into the negotiation, save yourself a bit of money. Okay, so the moment you've no doubt been waiting for, getting out on that test drive and getting a feel for the car. Don't get too excited though, remember we are looking to buy this car, so we want to be thinking with our head, not our heart. So first things first, before you even get moving, common problem with these, headlights. Now what can happen is they can tend to not self-level correctly, and that is they're either pointing too low, too high, or you'll notice it actually jumps about a little bit. Now if that's the case, again, you want to be building that into the bargain and getting a bit of money off to compensate for that. So next on that drive, you want to be testing the power. Particularly, again, we spoke about if it's a pre-2015 car, could have some of those turbo problems, so you want to make sure it's making good power. And as well as that, if you can, try and have a look out the back and make sure it's not blowing any blue smoke when you're on boost. Now this particular car does have a remap on it, around about 350, 360 brake horsepower, somewhere in that region, and I can certainly vouch for it. We'll give it a blast here. And it's spinning the tyres in second, but feels really quick. I think that's quite a slippy bit of road. Now the last thing to talk about here is the clutch. From the factory, these manuals were fitted with a clutch delay valve, and what it meant is smoother gear changes. However, when you drive in a slightly more enthusiastic form, it meant the clutch engagement wasn't fully on when you were giving it the beans, so your clutch was slipping and that would wear the clutch out quite quick. That's why a lot of these manual cars had to get clutches done really quite early on, 20,000, 30,000 miles, that sort of thing. So give that clutch a good test, get into a higher gear, floor that throttle, and make sure the way that the car's gaining speed is proportional to the way that the revs are rising. So in summary, what score do we give it on a reliability index? Well, it scores an 8 out of 10. Now they're really, really reliable cars. However, those early cars having the turbo problems and some of the smaller issues like the faulty rear wiper that can be a bit juddery, drop it down a couple of points for sure. So it gets a solid 8 out of 10. Now, if you've got any questions about a car that you're looking at, or if you own one of these cars and have a problem, drop a comment below and we'll come back and help you out with that. But for now, we'll see you on the next one.